Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Courtside Soundoff podcast today. I'm Josh Evanoff. He's Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about today. UFC Fight Island 1, UFC Fight Island 2, UFC 4 Beta. A little bit more on UFC 251, as well as giving all of our NBA predictions for the playoff seedings, who makes it in, who doesn't, as well as all of the awards that will be given out following the season. Before we get into that, I want to talk to you guys about Fight Plus. Fight Plus provides a special selection of premium events from boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, and other combat sports. Watch free events from over 25 promotions 30 days after airing. Fight Plus includes organizations such as Brave FC, Unified MMA, UC MMA, CZW, BKB, FSW, BCB Boxing, Kunlun, and much, much more, and they're available for your viewing pleasure. You can cancel at any time. If you guys want a free 7-day trial to use and watch Fight Plus, go through the links that are available on our Podbean, our website, our YouTube, anywhere you can find us. You can find the links and enjoy some free fighting. If you don't cancel after the 7 days, you will be charged. But if you want the free 7-day trial to just see how it is, you can go through that. Last Wednesday sounds really, really strange to say, talking about a fight card, but Wednesday night fight cards are strange, to say the least. The entire main card went to a decision. Which, given the names on it, was extremely strange, very weird. That never happens. The last time an entire main card went to a decision was 2 years ago, UFC 225. But in the main event, Calvin Kattar defeating Dan Ige via a decision, which was, it was a really close fight. The first 3 rounds, you can argue that Dan Ige, personally, Calvin Kattar took round 1, and then I gave Dan Ige the next 2 rounds. It looked like he broke Kattar's nose. It looked like the tides were starting to turn, but then in the championship rounds, Calvin Kattar came roaring back, winning the final 2 rounds very easily and getting the decision win. But in a way, I felt kind of disappointed, Angel. I'll ask you about it in a second, but I kind of felt disappointed seeing this. Calvin Kattar, given, we talked about it earlier this week, how high we are on him, how he could potentially be next in line for a title shot, given how weird that division is and how, in flux it is. And with a great performance, he could potentially be thrust into that title conversation. What we got was a bit of a close decision, a bit underwhelming. I was a little bit underwhelmed personally. Were you by Kattar's performance?
I understand what you're saying. Looking back at it now, maybe I think we do expect more. This was good, but it wasn't good enough. You should have done better. But no hate, because he got the win. He did good. Obviously it's not a bad performance. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like we said. Prior to the show, we were talking about this a little bit. I'm surprised, he didn't get to finish. I honestly expected to finish, but, it is what it is. And credit to him, it was entertaining.
Do you think it was more of a circumstance of just kind of us being not as high on Ige? Because, personally, I know Dan Ige is a really, really good fighter, one of the top 10 guys in that division. But at the same point, we've never really seen him display the level that he should be doing great against a guy like Calvin Kattar, because obviously he wins over Bektic and Barboza, but there's both split decisions. You could argue they should have gone the other way, especially the Barboza one. And then here he is beating Calvin Kattar for the early parts of that fight. Was it just a circumstance of us kind of underestimating Ige, I think?
It might have been, but at the same time, I feel like, same from him, we kind of expected more out of him, too, out of these 2 guys who are kind of trying to get to that, title contending position, and in kind of the situation where that is at the top. I feel like we need more out of them still. And like I said, it's not to discredit them. It's just that we have a higher expectation for this weight class, especially because of where it's standing right now, and kind of how the champs are standing, and kind of they're, I told you, I feel like for me, I don't really see anybody really below Volkan beating Max in that weight class. I can't even imagine it. I feel like he really outclasses a lot of the guys. So that's why I kind of have a high expectations for the people in that weight class now.
Yeah. Personally, I was a little bit disappointed with Cage's performance. Like I said, I just kind of thought, given where his level is and where he's ranked, he should have beaten a guy like Ige a bit easier. Ige is very unproven at the top level. It was still a decent performance as the fight went on, but I feel like it showed more holes in Kattar's game, like holes that I kind of overlooked. He's very hittable. He has trouble closing off the cage. He's still very much a slow starter. There's still things he can work on. I'd like to see him fight Max next. I'd like to see him fight Max Holloway next. Obviously, Max is in a weird position, losing to the champ twice. Maybe he won't stay at featherweight. If he does decide to stay at featherweight, I'd like to see him fight Calvin Kattar, but I'm not sure if that's what he'll do. The co-main event was also a decision. Tim Elliott defeating Ryan Benoit via a controversial unanimous decision. I saw a lot of people online. You can check MMA Decisions as well, MMADecisions.com. The vast majority of people had it going to Ryan Benoit. But it was a really hard fight to score. I'll say that much. I thought Ryan Benoit's round 1 was the only clear round in that fight. I thought it was clearly Ryan Benoit's. He landed the hardest strikes. I think he might have even landed more officially. Round 2, Tim Elliott, Benoit was doing some good job. They're both doing really, really good on the feet. Tim Elliott was landing more strikes. Benoit was landing the harder strikes. Elliott got the takedown, moved him out, and he was landing some decent shots. But then Benoit nearly finished the fight with a devastating leg lock. He nearly, I don't remember if it was a leg lock or heel hook actually, but he nearly finished the fight from his back. And then, so it was kind of a circumstance where, Elliott had the top control, but Benoit nearly finished the fight. Elliott had landed the more strikes, but Benoit landed the harder ones. Round 3 I actually thought, this one was pretty hard to score as well. I give it to personally Benoit. For the record, I gave it to Benoit 29-28. Third round, Benoit landed the harder strikes. It looked like he hurt Tim Elliott at one point with a knee, but Elliott landed more strikes. Now, they didn't do much, and Elliott's style is not really to land hard shots, just to land more strikes. It's very active. Angel, how would you score it? Because I saw a lot of people online. It was a very close decision. Ryan Benoit afterwards said he won that shit on Twitter. So, close decision. But I'm wondering what you thought.
It's one of those fights where I think you could have swung it either way. Because it was hard to dictate who won. Just off the scoring criteria we have to use. You know what I mean? Personally, I wouldn't have an issue going it either way. I just thought it was a close fight. I wouldn't have been mad either way. It wasn't one of those fights where I think I would have been up in arms. It wasn't Max Holloway versus, Alexander Volkanovski.
Let's not even go there. I don't want
to. It wasn't that. But, credit where credit's due. I mean, they both did great. I mean, it's an entertaining fight, for what it's worth. And, and I love to see him running back. This is actually one of the fights I love to see him running back, because maybe next time it could be more decisive,
I don't know if a rematch will be. I think these two will meet each other eventually. I was very surprised that they hadn't fought each other, honestly, heading into this fight. It just seems like a fight that would have happened. These are two dudes that have been fighting at flyweight for, pretty much forever at this point. Is there anything on the undercard that you enjoyed? I know that there was, we talked about Jimmy Rivera, Cody Stamann. I thought that was a really fun one.
I thought that was a fun fight, too. I really enjoyed that.
But is there anything outside of that? Because I thought the prelims, the early prelims, which I thought were not going to be that great, were actually pretty dope.
No, they were great, too.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I mean, besides outside of the Jerry Gordon fight going to decision, I mean, everything else ended in a finish, and I thought I was surprised. Sometimes as of recently, I've been really good about watching the prelims or catching most of them, but for some reason this time around, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I don't know why. I guess because it was just a week, a card throughout the weekday. It just threw me off, and I didn't expect it, so I didn't get to enjoy it as much as I typically would have, because I did peek in and out, but I ended up catching most of the main card, which ended up being really not that good compared to what the prelim provided.
That's fair enough. I thought the main card was a bit underwhelming. It was not like they were bad performances. I thought the co-main event was a lot of fun. I thought Talia Santos has a great performance against Molly McCann. Jimmy Rivera, I thought that fight was pretty fun with Cody Stamann. But the fight of the night was pretty clearly Mounier Lazzez versus Abdul Azak Al Hassan. It was one of the fights I highlighted a couple of days ago, and I was really excited for Abdul Al Hazak, his return. And instead, it ended up being Mounier Lazzez, the sniper, as his name is, getting the upset win. He was one of the bigger underdogs on the card. I literally had never heard of him. But right after the podcast, I watched his highlight reel, and I'm like, oh, damn, this is going to be a fun fight. But I still was super surprised, man. I mean, the kid's 10-1, and he went toe-to-toe with him. It wasn't a circumstance of, like, you know, the only dudes he's beaten Al Hassan in his career was, I believe it was due to fighting at middleweight. I think it was Omar Akhmedov. And he did it just by out-grappling him. He didn't even bother trading on the feet, and I don't blame him. Mounier Lazez just went, screw it. I'm going to decide to trade on the feet with one of the most, like, pound-for-pound hardest hitters in the UFC. Shout out to that guy. Amazing fight.
8 shots.
Straight up, dude. He ate some hard shots, especially in the first round. Like, he ate some bombs. Other cool fights in the card. Jared Gordon, straight up, had no, like, his entire coaching staff tested positive. So he just had some of his other fighters. And Paul Felder, who left the booth for one fight to go coach him because they're teammates. So that was pretty dope. Liana Jujaya, I probably mispronouncing her name. I liked her performance on the undercard. Amazing armbar. She has really, really good grappling. And at flyweight, really, you only need one attribute. So we'll have to see how far she goes. But I thought that was a really good win by her. So she's somebody with really phenomenal grappling that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how she goes in that division. Very young as well. But anyways, moving on to the second Fight Island card of the week. And this one also, I think the main and co-main here are like as good as it gets. Davison Figueiredo taking on Joseph Benavidez, a rematch for the vacant flyweight title earlier this year, February. The card, like the second to last card before COVID hit and forced no crowds, and they ended up, as you may recall, Davison Figueiredo missed weight the first time in his career, and it was a title fight. Joseph Benavidez was the only one eligible, and he ended up being knocked out because of him missing weight. They're running it back again. I'll ask straight off the top, how do you feel about them running this back in general before you even preview the fight? Because I know personally when they decided they're going to run this back, I was honestly a little bit surprised. We've never seen anything like this before where it's, vacant title situation, somebody misses weight, and it's a really, really clear result. Like he got bodied, honestly. I mean,
it's fair though, kind of the circumstance of the fight. He missed the weight. You give the guy another chance. Maybe it was, something was off that night, whatever it may be. I personally don't have an issue with it. And plus that, it's it could be really entertaining for what it's worth. Maybe something changes, you learn something, and maybe that bump the heads doesn't happen, that cut doesn't appear, maybe there's a different result. We'll see. Obviously, we say that, but in reality something else could happen,
Yeah, let me be clear. I don't have a problem with it because I don't think there's Alexander Pantoja, who's fighting on the undercard, I think he's somebody who you could have given the title shot to, but I would not complain. But outside of him, there's no real other clear contender at the moment. Besides, maybe Brandon Moreno. But I get why they're running it back. Joseph Benavidez has been the uncrowned champ in this division for a long time. Like, whenever Henry was the champ fighting at 135, and they were debating getting rid of the division, Joseph Benavidez was still just beating all the contenders. Like, that was just one of the... He just does that. Like, he'll forever do that. That's just who he is. He's a competitor. He's a gamer. And he's been one of the UFC's, like, top brass, one of the face for a long time. I would love to see Joseph Benavidez get his coronation here. I would love to see it happen. But there's nothing I saw in that first fight that makes me think that, like, Joseph Benavidez could pull it off. The game plan's there. The game plan is outlast Figueiredo, get it into the championship rounds, do a good job of sticking and moving, and grapple when you can. But the problem with Figueiredo is that's much easier said than done. He's a very good grappler. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He hits like a truck. He's going to be much bigger than Joseph Benavidez in there. I'd love to see Joseph Benavidez get his coronation here. He's been around in the game for so long. He's been so good for so long, and he's always been such a gamer and like a guy that will always have the top contenders. I just don't think it happens, man. The game plan's there. Like, he knows what he has to do. Try and outlast Figueiredo, take him into the championship rounds, see if he can gas, grapple with him, try and stay on the outside, stick and move. But that's easier said than done, man, because even if you're going to try and grapple with a guy like Figueiredo, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very good off his back. He's not the easiest guy to wrestle. And whenever they Joseph Benavidez tried to take him down in the first fight. He nearly got submitted with an armbar. Figueroa hits like a truck. He's very strong. He's very good at jumping in and out with his strikes. He's very fast. He's very powerful. I don't see this fight going any different than the first fight. I'm taking Davidson Figueroa via knockout, man. I would love to see Joseph Benavidez pull it off. I just don't think it happens. I think Figueroa is very well rounded. I think he's a killer, man. And I think if Davidson Figueroa wins, I think he has the potential, if the division does not get shut down, to be a champion for a long time. I know that I'm projecting here because he did lose to Juicy Famiga a couple years ago, but I think as of right now, I think he has that potential to do that. That's just my opinion, though. Who do you got in the main event?
I mean, just like you, I don't see it going any differently, and that sucks because like I said, Joseph's been there for a minute now. Like I said, he's the Underground King. Only losses to Dominic Cruz, DJ, not Davison. I don't see it going much differently. Maybe another finish, which sucks. Because obviously, as a fighter, you don't want to hear that you're probably gonna get finished. Obviously, I hope no one's telling him that. We could be absolutely wrong, and he'll put on a performance. Anything could happen at the end of the day. Maybe something changes, like I said. But I see the fight pretty much playing out the same way for the most part.
Yeah, me too. And the thing is like he has the potential. The thing about Joe B is he's one of the greatest lighter weight. He's probably the third greatest flyweight of all time. He could make a case that he's one of the greatest ones, man. You could argue he's higher than Henry all time because he beat Henry. You know what I mean? At flyweight. So his only losses to DJ, Pettis, and Figueroa at flyweight. So it's just and I thought he beat Pettis too. So it's a tough situation, man. He should have been in this position a long time ago, and I feel bad that it's coming against a guy that's like Figueroa. But I think Figueroa wins, man. I think he wins violently again. Moving on to the co-main, which I think is one of the harder fights to pick, man. I have no idea who I'm picking this one. Jack Hermansson, Kelvin Gastelum. Both these guys are in the top, I want to say top 7, something along those lines. And they're both very, very good. But they're also coming off of bad losses. Obviously, Jack Hermansson got knocked out by Jared Cannonier. That was very much a homecoming for him. I thought it was meant to be kind of a star making, that's what the impression was given off of for that one. Because he's fighting in Sweden, in his home country of Sweden. Actually, never mind. He was fighting in Denmark. I was completely wrong. Still fighting in Europe, but he was fighting in Denmark, and he was coming off 4 wins in a row. Beat Jacare, beat David Branch, and this kind of seemed like if he wins this one, he gets a title shot, and Jared Cannonier put him to sleep. Kelvin Gastelum, on the other hand, he won a couple fights in a row. He beat Michael Bisping and beat Jacare. He got the title shot against Israel. Lost. That was an amazing fight, but he still lost. And then he lost to Darren Till right after that. He was coming up from welterweight. Who do you got, man? Both these guys need to win very badly, but it's very tough to call just based off their styles, in my opinion.
I feel, and the weird thing is I feel like Kelvin isn't really in a bad position. It's just, his fights have gone to distance. He had a really good fight against Izzy, took Darren Till the split decision. And if he gets a loss here, it's going to look really bad, which is heartbreaking for him. But at the same time, Jack only lost one. He's a pretty good streak. Some of the, he's beat a couple older guys in there. You could make an argument, whatever. But nevertheless, I just don't think. I think it's gonna be too hard for Kelvin. I don't think Kelvin will be able to. I don't think it's gonna be very hard for him to take down Jack. He's a big guy, tall, longer, longer dude, strong. As far as, and then, getting in the pocket with him, I think is just going to be rough because it's just a big dude. He can just pull away really quick, stick his arm out, get back into that jabbing position, and make it really difficult for him. He just has some, certain disadvantages, that we'll probably see it through the fight if obviously Jack, plays it right as he should, engages it the entire time, keeps Kelvin at bay. I can say all this, but it's different, once you get in there and maybe he doesn't do all those things and Kelvin could surprise us. Because, against Izzy, he was right in Izzy's face. I don't know if he's going to do that against Jack, against Darren. I feel like Darren did a good job of, trying to keep him, at bay, but I don't know if that's going to work against Jack Hermansson. Personally, I'm going to lay out my pick right here, and I'm going to pick Jack Hermansson.
Yeah, I was leaning. You listened to a lot of things about why Jack's gonna win, and I was very much leaning Jack for a while there. But listen, man, I got a feeling that Kelvin's gonna get back on the winning trail, man. I just think I like Jack a lot. I like his grappling a lot specifically. I think he's very underrated as a grappler. I mean, like the dude knows him at a Jacare. Like, come on, like that's ridiculous. He has a lot of punching power. But I just think he's too hittable, man. I think the Jacare did pretty good at landing on him, and he just he relies on his chin a little bit too much for my liking. And I think that Kelvin's going to have the speed advantage, and I think he's probably going to end up knocking him out. I don't know if literally knocking him out, but I think he's going to end up getting the stoppage, either in the second round probably, if I had to guess, second or third round. He's great cardio. Both of them do, so I would not be surprised if it went the distance, but we'll have to see. Is there anything on the undercard that you like?
Oh boy, let's see. I gotta look at the undercard again. Joe Duffy's back, man. Joe Duffy is back. I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good fight. Well, not a pretty good fight against prior opponent, but I feel like Joe Duffy, for what it's worth, maybe not the greatest fighter, but at least an entertaining guy to watch. And he's from Ireland. I think he's just a cool dude you can maybe become a fan of, and that's kind of him. I know there's nothing too crazy, maybe special about Joe Duffy, but I just think Joe Duffy's a kind of cool, fun guy to watch. So if you want something to look forward to, kind of a guy to root for, go check out Joe Duffy.
I'm going to second that one. Joe Duffy, a lot of people just think he kind of coasted off of the Conor win, and he did. Let's be very clear. He's kind of coasted off the success of beating Conor McGregor years ago. But at the same time, man, the dude's legit on the feet, man. He's really, really good on the feet. If you guys want to go watch his Dustin Poirier fight from a couple of years ago, he turned Dustin Poirier into a wrestler, bro. Like, Dustin was shooting for his life in there. He's coming off a back-to-back loss against Mark Jacasey and James Vick. I thought the James Vick fight was controversial because, he was winning that fight. In the second round, he got knocked down. And he didn't look like he was out of it, but he got called off as a knockout, which was pretty controversial. But Mark Jacasey just tuned him up on the feet. I think he's going to come back with a win here against Joel Alvarez, who's UFC newcomer. Other fights on the card, Mark Jacasey's also back, taking on Rafael Fiziev. It was going to be a lot of fun. Alexander Pantoja, Askar Askarov is a straight-up banger at flyweight, opening up the card. And then Davi Ramos, Arman Salukian, is one of the greatest grappling matchups. Like, I'm really looking forward to this, man. Davi Ramos, Arman Salukian. Arman is I think he's only had 2 fights in UFC, but they were I'm pretty sure they were against Islam Makhachev and Ovan Obian Mosier on the pay-per-view main card of UFC 240, I believe. And Davi Ramos, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like one of the greatest Jiu-Jitsu players in the UFC, black belt, obviously fighting out of Brazil. And he's been around in the game for a long time, and he actually is also coming off a loss to Islam Makhachev, so that one's going to be a really, really fun one to watch. If you're a fan of grappling, you should really watch that one. But, yeah, there's a little bit to like here, but I think it's a decent little card. It's obviously, I think next week's card is even better, which is Whitaker Till, Shogun, and Little Nog. Alex Oliveira's back, Fabricio Verdum, Alexander Gustafsson, Carlos Esparza. There's a lot to like next week, which we'll talk about. But, yeah, that's all we got for this Saturday night's card. Moving on to something that was a little bit of a follow-up to UFC 251. It's kind of just a really quick little thing, but like UFC 251, we guessed over or under on pay-per-view buys, and I believe the bar was, what was it, 500,000, 600,000? We both picked the over. I don't think we realized just how much over it was going to be, as it ended up being, apparently, according to The Athletic, 1.3 million buys. That is the biggest card since Khabib and McGregor, and that puts it in the top 5, I want to say, because I know like the UFC McGregor DS2 did 1.6, UFC 100 did 1.6, and then I believe, I think that puts it in the top 5 actually. Khabib McGregor 2.4, UFC 100 1.6, McGregor DS2 1.6. That would be the fourth highest grossing pay-per-view of all time, right up along with UFC 205. So, where does this cement Jorge Masvidal as one of the biggest stars of the UFC? Pay-per-view buys is kind of a dead giveaway, but there's a lot of dudes across the UFC, and as somebody's interested in the money side of the UFC. I like talking about this type of stuff. So where would you put him in the top 5? Like, of highest grossing stars?
He's up there for sure. And I wouldn't say he's number 1. I think Conor will always be the biggest draw for the UFC, as far as that. I'm almost tempted. I know he's definitely not 5 or 4, so he has to be 3 or 2. So I'd stick him at either 3 or 2. I think he can bounce between either or, just dependent.
I'm curious, what does your top 5 look like? Because in my head, the top 5 is some variation. I mean, obviously Conor, Khabib are number 1 and 2. Khabib doesn't have the biggest pay-per-view numbers, and he just won't. He's not that huge of a star in the States. At least we don't know. It's really hard to gauge it because ever since the Conor fight, he's only had 1 fight since the Conor fight, and that one we don't know the pay-per-view buys for. And it was also at 3 o'clock, so it's really, really hard to gauge where it is. So it's hard to gauge for that one. But as for the rest of his career, it's hard to guess. But even then, whenever that Dustin fight happened, he had 50 million. I believe the stat is 50 million people watched him in Russia, but it wasn't on pay-per-view. So that's insane. And then obviously Conor's number 1. I'm gonna put Jorge probably at number 3, man. Like if these numbers are true, that's literally Conor numbers. Like that's insane. And then you got like Jones is in there, probably Nate's in there. So that's probably what my top 5 looks like. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I'd probably say that too. I honestly, and I know it's maybe not there, but I wanted to put Izzy there. Surely, because I think with time, I think he's a fun guy. He makes good fights, and people can enjoy Izzy as a personality too.
I think if Izzy keeps on winning, I'd say for sure. But I think right now it's hard to gauge because I don't feel like he doesn't have an insane amount of popularity outside of like the MMA sphere. Like it's hard sometimes to remember our little bubble is not the world. We're not that popular of a sport. Like it's hard to remember sometimes. These guys you think guys like, oh yeah, Izzy's a star, Max is a star, but then you look at their numbers come out and they're like, oh, only 200,000 people bought. Now which is crazy
because those guys make entertaining fights.
Yeah, but then it's like, oh, 200,000. I mean, Max is a star, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not a star. Jones regularly pulls 700,000. Jorge did really good numbers with Nate. It's like there's levels to it. So I don't know. It's like after those 5 of like Nate, Khabib, Conor, Masvidal, and Jones, you have so many different dudes that get slot in there. Like DC maybe, Stipe maybe, like obviously the GOAT CM Punk. You know what I mean? Like there's other
Ronda.
dudes. Yeah. Ronda. We could just start listing people who aren't officially retired. Brock. It's just
Mike Perry, BJ Penn.
If we don't get a Mike Perry,
GSP.
We gotta have that Mike Perry BJ Penn street fight. I'm gonna take Mike via decision on that one.
Mike via decision. You think he'll go to distance?
Yeah, I think Lattori's gonna be the judge. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, I take that back. I think I'm gonna take BJ via decision because she's not on his side. So.
Oh boy. But I wanted to talk about the Masvidal thing. I think as far as like the reasoning for Masvidal starting, and he might have gotten, and this kind of sucks for Kamaru because it definitely goes against Kamaru. But the story, if you don't know about MMA, you're like Jorge Masvidal, street fighter, in the streets, fought without gloves, fighting Kamaru Usman, college wrestler, you're as if you don't know too much, you're probably the guy who's fighting on the streets, kicking ass to these guys. That guy's definitely gonna get kick the wrestler's ass. There's no way, right? But then you come in and watch the fight. You're like, dude, this guy's such a punk. He's afraid. He's putting him up a cage. He's taking them ground. Like this is boring. The reason a lot of people kind of dislike. I mean, the people who do happen to watch MMA and sometimes watch a fight with a wrestler and dislike it because he's putting up a cage. That's some pussy shit. This and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something I've noticed too. Anytime that there's like a really fun fighter, like fun to watch, and they go up against a wrestler, and it's maybe not the most entertaining fight. It's like, oh, they're a pussy, they're this, they're that, and like you see it all the time, man. Especially here's the thing, I feel like that only happens in circumstances where it's like it's a short notice type of thing. Like obviously there's wrestlers, but like the Kamaru style of being very, very safe, we don't see that often. Like I brought up last time too, but DC against Anderson Silva. Like the crowd booed the shit out of DC. Everybody hated on him because he decided to wrestle, but it's like that's his game plan. He did not game plan for Anderson Silva. Kamaru did not game plan for Jorge Masvidal. He was fighting. Literally, you could not have picked a more different opponent than like Gilbert Burns or Jorge Masvidal. You really couldn't. Even the striking, which they're very close in striking. Like I think Gilbert's a very underrated striker. Like I think he's as good as he gets. Even then, their striking styles are significantly different. You know what I mean? So I don't blame Kamaru for that, but he's gonna get a lot of hate for that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he already has, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's that kind of sucks for him. But I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, all these people who are, maybe relatively new to the sport are only checking it out because, they're like, oh, they're hearing about this situation. Oh, guy's stepping on 6 days notice. He's a street brawler. He's fighting I don't know. It clicked in my head.
And you know what? I think the last 3 title fights, this is such a hyped up card, dude. I saw people who are not MMA fans talking about this card. And it's like, I think the last 2 title fights really showed the best and the worst about MMA. I really think in all forms. Like obviously Aldo Jan was an amazing fight, but then we had to watch Jose Aldo get bludgeoned for 4 minutes. And then, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, fun fight, but the judges got it wrong. Especially somebody who's new to the game. You're like, how did the dude who got his ass kicked for the first few rounds, how did he win? Like, not under pride rules, surely. Like, it's just, yeah, it's hard to watch that, especially if you're a new fan of the sport. Like, how did that guy win? That doesn't make any sense. That's bullshit. And obviously the last title fight was just kind of a boring affair where it was like this dude came in a short notice and he's just doing what he has to do, because in a sport where you get paid more when you win, you're going to do stuff to your strengths. That's just how it works. But yeah, is there any more you want to touch on this topic before we move on to UFC 4?
No, I mean, nothing in particular. I think I said what I needed to say and what I wanted to say.
All right, fair enough. UFC 4. This one I'm going to be talking about probably a bit more briefly because I know Angel did not get in the beta. But UFC 4 beta came out last week if you were unaware. And I don't blame you guys if you're not aware. And I'm going to try and talk about what I can without getting, sued, okay? Because I had to do, an agreement for EA to even play the beta. But I'll put it like this. If you guys like arcade games, if you like games with awkward striking, if you like a broken grappling system that's even more simplified and dumbed down than UFC 3's, then you're going to love UFC 4. Listen, the beta was definitely controversial, and I'll put it like that because it came out, I started playing it, and it's hard to get into exact specifics as to why it was not that good. But there was a lot of stuff that was not that good about the whole beta, and it's just the striking was very awkward. It does not feel fluid. The ground game, they dumbed it down even more. It's very arcadey. Here's something that I'm going to say the exact specific on this one. And if this video gets taken down, then whatever. Because they take down anybody who gets into exact specifics or if they show gameplay or anything. That's why you didn't see any gameplay, any stuff. I'm sure there's been leaks out there, but you know what I'm saying. Before the introductions, they'll have the introductions in game. And it's the exact same thing from UFC 3. They'll show the walkout. It looks the exact same way, which is fine because that's how UFC is in real life. They'll go, and then, after Bruce Buffer introduces you, everybody leaves the octagon, and then the referee goes, "Are you ready?" And then, as if it's Fortnite, you can pick a dance option. This is not a joke. It's not a dance option, but it's a taunt option. And Nate Diaz does a flexing thing, and Connor, he does a thing with his arms. He puts his arms out, and it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It feels like they have not watched MMA, and it feels like they watched 7 minutes of MMA before making this decision, because it's the most cringeworthy thing. I would not be surprised if this gets taken out of the game because it's surreal to watch in real time. Herb Dean's standing in the middle of the octagon, and he asks your character, "Are you ready to fight?" And your dude does a taunt, he does a Fortnite taunt. Like it was the most bizarre thing.
He does the L, the little L dance thing.
Yes.
Is that one of the options?
I don't know for sure, but it's one of the most bizarre things, dude. It is so bizarre. It's just strange. But there is something cool, though. And by the way, if you win a fight via knockout, this is an option, too, where you could do a taunt. And they all suck. They're all really cringy, except for Jorge Masvidal's. If you knock out somebody with Jorge, and there's little touches. Let me be very clear. There's still stuff that I like. If you're Nate Diaz and you submit to do with the triangle, he'll start throwing out the bird while he's in the triangle. You know what I mean? Like I don't remember who he submitted that one time. It was like years ago. He submitted somebody with the triangle. And he started flipping them off while they're in the triangle. That happens in game, which I think is really, really cool. But Jorge Masvidal, if you knock out somebody with Jorge and you hit the option, he'll do the Ben Askren thing. You know how he pretended to go flatlined after he knocked out Ben Askren? That's hilarious in game. That's actually really, really funny. But the beta itself, there's a reason why. Really quickly to end the story, the beta comes out. I play it for all of 2 days. I think I played 26 games. I went 21-5. So don't fuck with me. The whole thing happens, and 2 days later, they pull the beta out of nowhere. Betas do not last 2 days. It's just that does not happen, especially whenever you consider the fact that they just announced it the day of. On the EA Sports subreddit, which full credit to the dude, I don't know his actual name, but he's very in touch with the EA Sports UFC subreddit. They just announced, thanks for all your feedback, we're pulling the game at midnight. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, whatever then. So, which was kind of bizarre, but yeah, that's my thoughts on UFC 4. It's a game, all right. I am excited for the career mode because they revealed the street fighting stuff at the UFC 251 pay-per-view. So we didn't talk about that at the time, but kind of just wanted to wait for the beta, and the beta got released, and it was a whole thing. Anyways, to move on to actual, real life fighting topics, Dominic Reyes said in an interview that he's looking to fight in October. That apparently bout contracts are being sent out for October. And as we know, light heavyweight is very much in flux right now. Thiago Santos is coming back to fight in a month or two. Dom Reyes is sitting on the bench. Jan Blachowicz is sitting on the bench. And then obviously Thiago and Glover, that's very much a number one contender fight right there. John Jones has said he's retired. Dom Reyes said he was going to fight in October. If John doesn't come back, he should give up the belt. John Jones has stated he's going to be retired. He's been saying that for a while now, for a couple months at this point, and they've yet to take the belt off of him. Angel, if you're Dana White, what do you do in this situation? You have a couple of fighters that are all very capable. John Jones is your star. He was very much in a situation like Jorge Masvidal, where he did not plan on coming back. Jorge ended up giving into the UFC's demands. What would you do?
I mean, if the deal isn't unrealistic, I try to convince him. But if it's unrealistic, we can't do it. I probably am like, hey, John, there's no way I can do this. We're going to vacant the belt. There's no choice. And then I ask him straight up, and maybe one of my questions would be like, are you even interested in coming back? Do you have any interest in coming back? I mean, you already cemented yourself, you're goated, you have a great legacy, or are you fine with just, whatever now? If not, maybe we can try to find some sort of agreement where we can make something happen. But if not, I think it's time to let it go, because, we can't, delay divisions. We can't delay people from progressing in their career, especially in this where people don't have a long time.
And that's fair enough. And if that happens, who would you like to see fight for the vacant title?
Oh, I think you need Reyes in there 100%. And then, Reyes is number one guy in there. And then from there, I mean, personally, I just like Jan to go for it against Reyes. Jan and Reyes fight. I mean, I'm not going to say who I would pick for that, but I think that would be my personal pick. Like, who I would if they had to make it like that, that's what I'd love to see. Just because Santos coming off an injury.
Yeah, I'm actually on the same page with you. I don't think they're going to get it done with John. I really don't. Because it seems like Dana's been fed up with John Jones for a long time. Going back to 2016, he's talked about how he has not talked to John Jones. He's like, yeah, I haven't had a real conversation with John in a long time. He just lets his matchmakers deal with it. And I get it, because John Jones if he's not getting arrested, he's testing positive for steroids. So I understand why Dana doesn't want to do business with him. Jones says because he's a bigger draw, he should make more money, and while I agree, but I understand the UFC's point of view, because John Jones is extremely unreliable. He got arrested what was it, 2 months ago at this point? Like, he keeps on, he obviously he's tested positive for a long time. I don't think they're going to get it done with John. It's a lot different than a Jorge situation. Jorge just wanted more money than he fought for Nate for, and they gave him a big fight against Nate where he made a lot of money. But that was a situation the UFC got desperate and they needed a main event for Madison Square Garden. That was a big deal. So they ended up throwing more, and it ended up working not in their favor because they ended up giving a lot of money to Jorge. Jorge's like, and now I got to make more money because I'm fighting for the title, which makes sense. And it worked out because UFC 251 sold 1.3 million pay-per-view buys.
It wasn't a loss to them.
Yeah, no, not at all. And then but Jones is different because both sides have not liked each other for a long time, and I completely understand both sides. There's a lot more to work through. Like John, like I think he's still technically on house arrest because he just got that done, or is he finally off house arrest or something?
I don't know. I saw him biking around, so I don't know.
I hope he's not on house arrest. But yeah, he got arrested not that long ago. He tested positive boatloads of times. He's very much as unreliable as you can get. Now, he's kept his nose clean outside of getting arrested 2 months ago for a DUI. But outside of that, he's been good. I don't think it could happen, though. I think Dom Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz is going to happen for the belt. And after that, I think the winner of Thiago versus Glover needs to fight for the title. That's what I think. Bare minimum, they need to make an interim because something I've noticed after Henry said he's retired, they stripped him by Wednesday. Like, by the Wednesday after the fight, Henry Cejudo did not have the belt anymore. But with John Jones, he said he's not going to fight. Like, he said he's retired for the last 2 or 3 months, and he still has the belt. And that's not fair to those guys in that division. They have to be consistent with this type of thing. But, that's just my thoughts. Moving on from the UFC talk, moving on from all the MMA talk, the NBA is almost back, boys. The first scrimmages are going to be happening 5 days from now, as of we're recording, and finally it's going to be back. And I figured it was a good time before the quote-unquote preseason starts, before the scrimmages, to give all of our playoff predictions. Now, by playoff predictions, I mean who makes it in, picking the seeding, picking who's going to finish last, all that stuff. I think this is a really good time to do it. And after that, we're going to give our predictions for MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, the whole thing. Because, by the time that we record and all that stuff, regular season will, be underway so we can give our predictions for how the season's going to end. Do you want to start with the East or the West, my guy?
Up to you. I mean, either one. I'm down for either or.
All right, well, I think let's just go for East. I feel like East is probably easier to settle on.
Okay.
So do you have everything pulled up? Are you ready?
I'm getting it pulled up. I'm getting it ready.
All right, I guess. All right.
So where do you want to begin?
Well, I mean, who finishes 1 seed, my man? I mean, that's super easy.
I mean, it's not like we really have to say. I mean, I think it's a clear cut. The Bucks.
Yeah, Bucks, obviously.
I think as far as 2, I think the Celtics could sneak in there, but I think the Raptors are going to maintain it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there. I like the Raptors schedule too. I think Raptors schedule down the stretch is pretty lenient.
I think I might take the upset with the Heat. I think I could see the Heat taking 3 and Celtics drop to 4.
See, I'm also on the same page there. I've never actually been that high on the Celtics. I think I've talked about it before, but like the Celtics squad, I'm not super high on them.
And the Heat's the sleeper team for the year.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I could see the Heat winning it all, honestly. I just like that squad a lot. Just the way that they're built.
Just the Cinderella story is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even because they're high in star power. Only Jimmy Butler's the only real all-star on that team, and the GOAT, Goran Dragic. But it's like it's hard, it's hard to see anybody that like matches their overall team, and because that team just everybody matches up. They fit into their slots so well. I think the only other team that you can argue is probably the Clippers or OKC in terms of everybody matches up so well. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. That is a well-rounded, like I said, sleeper team.
Yeah, so I'm going to take them for 3 as well.
3. And then at 4th, I just move the Celtics. That's where I think they'll end up.
Yeah.
Pacers and Sixers. I feel like those could flop back and forth at 5 and 6. I'd say I'm going to take the Sixers at 5. I think maybe they'll rally up and take 6. And then Pacers will end up in Sixers will take 5, and then Pacers will end up in 6.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to acknowledge here is that Oladipo still doesn't know if he's going to play. He came back actually to play for Indiana, like
Was-
near before the season ended.
I wasn't doing that well though, sadly.
Yeah, and then he said that he's gonna take some time off to recover and just not play the rest of the season. And then he said, he's doing really, really good in practice. He like, you know what? I may come back.
It would be
So-
great. We'll see though.
We'll have to see, but I think even if he does come back, I still like the 76ers more, given that rest for guys like Embiid and like just like a lot of those guys. I think they're going to do better with the rest probably, and I think I'm going to give that spot to them.
I mean, I think the Sixers have been underwhelming. Like for the type of squad they got.
Oh, for sure.
There's a higher expectation for them. So that's why I think they'll rally back and get 5, maybe even take 4th, but we'll see. Now 7 and 8, I don't think 7 and 8 change. I think the Nets will be able to hold their 7th, even though it's like
really.
I know it's stupid close, but I think they'll be able to keep 7, and then Magic will keep 8. I have no faith in any team below that to get.
And you don't have faith in Washington to just bring the upset.
I mean, the Hornets have Terry Rozier at point guard now. No, I don't have any faith.
Here's the thing, right? I actually, because of Brooklyn's squad right now, I actually gave Washington a really good shot to kind of steal that 8th spot away from them. Because I think no matter what, Orlando is going to finish 7. I think Orlando is just a better squad right now. And that doesn't mean much because they're both pretty bad. But I think Orlando is going to finish better. But Brooklyn, on the other hand, I thought that they were actually going to lose that spot to Washington until everybody on the Wizards opted out. Off the top of my head, John Wall said he's not coming back. Bradley Beal said he's not coming back. David Bertans said he's not coming back. A couple other people on that squad that I'm missing are not coming back. So even though Brooklyn is starting Jamal Crawford, and a couple of other meme players, I think they're going to hold that spot. I think they're going to hold it at 8, which would mean that we're going to get the Bucks versus Brooklyn in the first round, which is, I think, the best outcome.
Which, ideally, if KD, Kyrie, DeAndre Jordan, and all of them were back, that wouldn't be that bad of a matchup.
Yeah, but then they're like, no, I don't want to play right now. I'm like, damn it. Because I was really looking for, in the cold Corona months, everybody was like debating on when the season would come back, and they're like, man, what if KD and Kyrie come back and DeAndre Jordan and everybody comes back? Like, that would be amazing. But instead, we had thoughts of that. Instead, we're getting Jamal Crawford led Brooklyn Nets, which is still awesome. Shout out Jay Crossover.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, we can move on to the West, because the West, I feel like, is a lot harder to pick, in my opinion, as for who's going to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just start off with that one spot, which I think is it's going to be Lakers pretty clearly.
Yeah, I think the Lakers would keep it. I think the Nuggets are there. Actually, let me go look at the schedule for them quickly. Clippers got a hard schedule coming up. Could lose that 2nd seed easily. 3rd seed Nuggets. Yeah. I mean, the Nuggets don't have an easy schedule either. I think they both have pretty hard schedules. I think the Clippers will just edge it out to keep that 2nd seed. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets snuck in there too.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it, man. Here's the thing about the West that's interesting is I could see legitimately. I think the only secure spot right now in the West is the Lakers at 1. I think that's it.
Yeah, everybody else can move.
I could even say Houston or Dallas, which are 6 and 7. I could see them moving up, just doing good in the final 8 games to get in that position.
I will say this though, I don't see the Clippers moving out of 2 or 3 though, and then same with the Nuggets. I don't see the Nuggets moving out of 3 or 2. The Jazz, I think the Jazz will probably at worst move down to 5, but will be 5 or 4. I think they won't move too much. Rockets could. I feel like the Rockets are the only team that I think could go down. I feel like they could go down to 7. Maybe they go up to 5, but then at the same time the Thunder could do that. I think out of those, those 3 teams right there that are tied, even 4 teams that are tied, the only one I could see really taking a lot of hits down the stretch and going lower down in the seeding is really the Thunder, in my opinion.
You son of a bitch.
I know, but all the teams have hard games though. Go look at their games. Every team has I don't think any team has an easy schedule. I think they all got hard matchups.
The only team I feel like that has an easy schedule is the Pelicans.
Pelicans.
Have you looked at this Pelican schedule?
No, is it stupid easy?
It's not stupid.
It's not stupid easy, but it's you could see them winning all those games.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
and
I like
agree
the
with
Thunder
you.
schedule a lot. I like the Thunder schedule a lot. They're playing Jazz, Nugs, Lakers, Grizzlies, Wizards.
Those are all
Suns,
hard games though.
Heat, Clippers.
I feel like for the most part, those are all like really hard teams for them to beat. I don't,
But they're winnable though. Like I think
they're winnable, but they're hard games. Granted, they were on a 3-1 streak before, but they're hard. No, I don't think anybody has it easy out. You know what I mean?
Except for the
I think outside of the top three, there's not going to be too much movement. Like those guys will probably maintain those positions. They'll just fluctuate back. Well, one is secured, but 2 and 3, they're just going to move back and forth potentially.
Yeah.
Jazz, I mean, I think it'd be an upset sneak into the third. If they got second, I'd be impressed.
Yeah,
But,
I don't think that happens. I'm picking Denver to finish second. It's a bold prediction, but I'm taking Denver to finish second.
You're taking Denver second. I can see it happening, but I think, like I said, those 2 and 3 will move. I think, like I said, 4 through 7 are going to be the ones shifting. Like those guys are going to shuffle around a lot.
I could see that. I think Houston's going to move down. I think also Russell just tested positive. He's not going to. We don't know if he'll be back for the start of the season.
True. So let's just say I'll settle on it. I'll be Houston 7, Mavericks 6, Thunder, and Thunder moves between 5 and 6.
I actually think Thunder move up. I think Thunder go to 4. I think Clippers 3, Jazz 5, Dallas 6, Houston 7. And then, honestly, I'm going to stick with the Grizzlies at 8. I think they added all those teams. I think they added Phoenix, San Antonio, Sacramento, New Orleans, Portland. I think they added all those teams, but for no real reason. I would love to see a team like the Suns or the Spurs or the Kings sneak in there. Because, honestly, the Pelicans, Zion, I guess he got hurt in practice. I'm pretty sure I read that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if he'll be back, and I don't know. I'm not a believer in the Blazers either. I just think the Blazers are too far behind. I think a lot of teams are too far behind to make too big of an impact, and I just think the Grizzlies are going to do it. And the Grizzlies have a really tough schedule. I think the Grizzlies have a really tough schedule. The Pelicans have one of the easier schedules. Let your conspiracies derive out of that, but I still think the Grizzlies are going to hold on.
I mean, and if there's any team, like, it's gonna be a battle though. Like, I feel like they'll be able to hold on, but it's gonna be hard because I feel like the Blazers are hungry and they could do it. It'll be hard, and the Pelicans could do it too. I mean, all those teams right there could do it. It's just gonna be a hard fought win though for that last 8 seed though. I really do believe it. I think the Grizzlies probably do edge it out, but I think if any team were to do it, it'd be the Blazers or the Pelicans, realistically. But I could be wrong. I mean, the Spurs might sneak in, or maybe the Suns just go on a crazy 1 streak. I mean, anything's possible right now for that 8 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at all these team schedules, and I actually was leaning Pelicans before Zion got hurt. I don't know if he got hurt or if it was a family matter. I read both yesterday, so I'm not sure which one is actually official. But if he's not there for the start of the season, I think you might as well just hang it up, man. I don't see Portland passing them. I don't see Portland passing the Grizzlies. I mean, and I would love to see it. Like I said, I would love to see Phoenix or the Kings. I think the Kings actually have a pretty underrated shot at making it just by virtue of their play style and just their schedule. I think they have a decent shot, but I'm still gonna go ahead and lean the Grizzlies. Like, if you look at like their schedules though, like I'm looking at like an NBA playoff matchups right now. Like, if you look at who has the easy schedule, New Orleans have, like, they're the team that is facing the least amount of teams over 500. They're facing only 2 teams over 500. Poor Phoenix is facing 7, which is the most, right up there along with the Lakers. And then, obviously Thunder 5, Jazz 4, Houston 5, Denver 6, like, just so on and so forth.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, but I believe we just ran through all of that for, like, who's going to make the playoffs. So we can move on to the award predictions. And I think a lot of these are honestly pretty straightforward, man. I feel like in years past, there's been some that are, like, up for debate. But I feel like the awards this year are actually pretty straightforward. Now, obviously, it depends on how the season ends out. But, like, we can start off straight off the top with MVP. It's got to be Giannis, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know there's been the narrative, the LeBron narrative, which sprouted up, which if I were to compare it to another sport, whenever Patrick Mahomes won his MVP, there was kind of a grassroots movement by a lot of players, by a lot of media to go, oh, but look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees has been around for a long time. He's deserved an MVP. He's deserved another MVP. And with LeBron, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, well, he deserves more MVPs than he has. He should win MVP this year. But just looking at Giannis, man, he is the glue that holds that team together. He is dominant. I just don't see how he shouldn't win. Like, they have more wins than anybody else in the NBA, and he's the reason behind that. I feel like and I hate to use this idea because a lot of people use this idea to, like, kind of derive how good a team is. If you took Giannis off of Milwaukee, they'd be a playoff team, but they would not be as good as, like, if you took LeBron off of the Lakers would probably be still a pretty damn good team. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So yeah, I mean, our official votes count for nothing, but I'm pretty sure we're both in the camp of Giannis. So moving on to rookie of the year. I put like offensive rookies. I'm stuck in the NFL mindset because I was playing Madden earlier, but regardless, rookie of the year. It's got to be Ja. I mean, I would love to see. Listen, Zahn. I think if he played more,
if he would have played the whole year out, yeah, he would have probably got it by a landslide.
By a straight up landslide. Because even in the few games that he's played, he looks so good. He looks so dominant that there's some people debating, oh, will he be able to steal it in the final games? And I feel like if this was a normal season, you could make a case. Like if there was no Corona and we were just watching Zion play out the rest of the season, I think he probably does it, honestly. Like, straight up, with the media hype and how good he was, I think he probably does it. Because there's only 8 games left in the season, I got to go Ja.
Oh, yeah. And it's heartbreaking because, I think it would have been Zion plays out the year, goes off. All the hype would have been, like, it would have been, granted. And it would have sucked because then we would have forgot guys, guys like Ja would have been forgotten, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Herro, Kobe White, RJ, all those guys, would kind of be, it would have been overshadowed by Zion. And it would have sucked for them. But, something, if they would have performed and I mean, they did. I'm not saying they didn't. It just would have been so hard with the hype coming into the season for Zion.
Yeah, but it's heartbreaking, man. Because I would have loved to see how this would have played out down the stretch. And I feel like that's kind of the disappointing part about Corona. Because I would love to see all of these like stories play out, like the MVP race with Giannis and LeBron. Because it actually, in all fairness, it was heating up down the stretch. I feel like more people were starting to get LeBron into the conversation. I didn't agree, but I understood their viewpoint. And you can even make an argument that, like, depending on how those two finish it out, you could give there's a conceivable world where I could see them giving LeBron MVP, depending on how good he is in the final 8 games. I don't think it matters how good Zion is, and considering he may be out for a couple games of the regular season, I don't think it matters at all where he fits in the rookie of the year conversation, especially if they miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, it's all done, which I think is what's going to happen. Anyways, moving on to Coach of the Year. This one I feel like is interesting because you have a lot of teams. There's no like one that is outstandingly amazing. Like maybe it's just me, but like the teams that are amazing this year are the same teams that we expected to be amazing. You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
Like in terms of shocking teams, maybe OKC because everybody thought we were gonna tank, and that I understand I'm being a homer by that. By like bringing up OKC, but I also think that like I got a point, like because they were a team that was supposed to be tanking, and here they are in the playoffs. But even then, it's tough to say which one. Maybe the Raptors because they were like a team that like they were not expected to be as good as they are, and here they are back. You know what I mean, with Nick Nurse as the head coach. So, I mean, who would you give it to?
I think you have a good argument for Nick Nurse. And at the same time, Doc, with the team, obviously maybe I think Doc will always be in the conversation. It's gonna be hard. I think there's a lot of guys who could probably steal it. Credit to them. At the end of the day, I feel like coaches do a lot. But there's a lot of good coaches in the NBA, maybe there's a lot that we don't we don't see that goes on behind closed doors, that these guys do. And even on the court, certain calls, I think, those two guys are going to be like the big names this year, especially just because of like the circumstance, like Nick Nurse with the Raptors last year, they won a championship, had Kawhi left. Now Doc Rivers has all this talent, as a group of collective players and media, did Doc Rivers do enough with his team to find that success that was expected out of them? You know what I mean? To be dependent of a lot of opinionated things, because and just kind of the narrative that's been created throughout the year. And and I'm sure there'll be guys like Mike Budenholzer for the Milwaukee Bucks, who I'm sure people will try to praise because of they ran it back a second year. It isn't a fluke. Maybe the Bucks are right there. They just weren't able to put it together last year. And obviously the Lakers will always be a conversation. Bringing in Frank Vogel, which I mean, arguably, I don't know if Frank Vogel's done any crazy coaching level things. Not to say Frank Vogel hasn't, I'm sure, made some good calls by putting in certain players in and out and having to work around everything that's going on, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's really, like I said, it's really hard to pick this one. I think there's a lot of, obviously, Frank Vogel's going to be in the conversation by virtue of he's coaching a team that has 2 all-stars that are arguably 2 of the top 5 players in the league. It's really tough to kind of, Doc's going to be in the conversation, obviously. I think if I were to lean somebody, I'd probably lean Nick Nurse, just by virtue of the Raptors are the second greatest team in the East, and they really shouldn't be. Talent-wise, pure talent-wise, I'd probably stick them below Boston, Philly. Yeah, probably Boston, Philly, Milwaukee. And they're right there at number 2. Billy Donovan, I think he's got a decent shot, which is crazy to me because I wanted that man fired for so long, but full credit to him. Whenever he has players that are willing to listen, he could be he's very good at coaching players up. And I think it's conceivable, depending on how they finish the year, that he could potentially sneak into that conversation. Obviously, Taylor Jenkins for the Grizzlies, I feel like is a really, really good one, just by virtue of the Grizzlies are a very surprising team this year. I think it's probably going to go to Budenholzer, though. I just think a lot of people are going to look at the Bucks like, oh, wow, the Bucks. I think he's going to repeat again, which I think is funny because he won last year. And I think there's a really good chance we're going to see repeats for both the Bucks and MVP and Coach of the Year conversation. So that's how I think that one's going to play out.
Who knows what's the last time that happened or if it's ever happened?
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever happened. I don't think if it's him, I think it's going to be Nick Nurse. I think those are the only 2. But I think he's a really good shot. But moving on to Defensive Player of the Year, this one I'm interested to hear your opinions on because I've seen a lot of people saying that it's going to be Giannis. And if he does that, wouldn't that make him only the second or third ever to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year the same year?
I think so. I think, who is it, Kareem? I could be wrong.
I want to say it was Kareem.
That would sound about right. We could fact check real quick.
Nah, fuck that. We don't do fact.
You don't do fact checks?
It's just...
Let's see, MVP. I'm going to hear my typing here for a second.
Yeah, Courtside Soundoff facts, they're a thing. So if we say it, then that's got to be it. Don't fact check.
Okay. Here. I'm pretty sure it's Kareem. I could be wrong. Okay.
Well, didn't Jordan do it as well? Or am I making that up?
You might not even be wrong. I know Jordan won Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't know if he won MVP. Because there's only been 4 players in history, okay, I just found it, who've won a MVP and Defensive Player of the Year award. I don't know if it's all in the same year. It's not telling me. But it's KG, David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Michael Jordan. Absolutely greats of the game, champions, and, legends of the game. So Giannis is about to be in that conversation with those 5 guys.
So you think he's really going to do it? Really think he's going to pull it off?
He just might. I think he is. I mean, even though Rudy Gobert just pulled the most intense, defensive, thing ever by locking down the whole defense, the whole league.
That was pretty clutch, man. You can't take that away from him. That was clutch.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert actually locked down the whole NBA league all by himself. So maybe Rudy's coming again for for the award. But no, he might do it back to back. I mean, legitimately, he's looked good on both ends of the floor. It's not even just getting rebounds, just being a presence on the court on both ends. He's an animal, man. Giannis is maybe arguably the best player in the league now. If not just about there. After this season, I think you got to make a really strong argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think not even like once the season ends, I think you make the argument right now, man. Like straight up, I think it's a very good argument too. Like probably in terms of who else is contenders, I'm really not that educated on who else is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Like,
I'm sure Rudy Gobert's in that conversation again
every year.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be the same same general group of guys. It's just the Giannis now has just been such a presence,
Yeah, which is I feel like why he probably wins it, honestly. Like that's my official prediction. Outside pick is the GOAT Andre Roberson, who's coming back, which I forgot to mention.
Dude, what do you mean? Our boy Patrick Beverly's coming back.
Pat Bev, Joakim Noah, Joakim coming for that Defensive Player of the Year again. No, I think it's gonna be Giannis, man. I really do. Like just looking at. I feel like the media drives this whole thing. Like in terms of like they're literally the ones who vote, so yeah. But it's like just looking at all the articles I've seen, they're like, yeah, Giannis is gonna do both. So I really think he's gonna do both.
Yeah. No, that's the narrative. So we'll stick through it.
And not a lot could change in 8 games. Like even if like God forbid if Giannis gets hurt or something, I don't think it changes a whole lot.
Also, within recent years, I mean, it's been bigger names, people who winning Defensive Player of the Year. We're talking Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard, Joakim Noah, Marcus Gasol, Tyson Chandler. Well, Tyson Chandler, that's back in 2011. But, Dwight Howard 3 years in a row, Kevin Garnett, Ben Wallace, Meta. It's going to generally be a bigger name. It's very unlikely it'll be a smaller role player guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think we're past the days of that. I feel like we're past the days of that when it comes to a lot of awards and a lot of focus. Mm-hmm. Like there's just I brought him up earlier as a joke, but for example, I'll throw him out there because he's a really good defensive player and he was all defensive first team before he ended up getting hurt. Roberson, I think Roberson's one of the greatest career like perimeter defenders in the NBA. I feel like overall, I put him in like when he was healthy, probably in the top 5 defenders overall, but he's not a big name, so he's not going to get there. People knew him more for like missing threes and like the free throw meme than actually being all defensive first team, which he was.
And I mean, looking at the list now, I mean I want to make an argument for Tyson Chandler because he's a champion. Got drafted out of high school. I mean, he has some sort of narrative. But before that was Marcus Camby. But granted, Marcus Camby was 4-time block champion, 4-time all defensive. 1996, 1997 all rookie. And defensive player of the year. 2006, 2007. But, Marcus Camby isn't like, a big,
no
guy in the league. Marcus Camby is a name that you can maybe bring up in conversation with people who know about the NBA, but you're not going to, I mean, right now, I wasn't thinking of Marcus Camby. I'm not someone who's actively thinking about Marcus Camby when I want to talk NBA,
I'm thinking about him all the time. Like,
you're thinking about him right now.
Oh, exactly, of course.
So that's a great example right there.
You brought up Tyson Chandler, and this is really, really random. I completely forgot Tyson Chandler was playing for the Rockets.
Yeah, he just got picked up, I'm pretty sure.
Isn't he the only center for them?
Probably at this point.
Because I know they're playing small ball. Isn't he the only center that's for the Rockets right now?
Yeah, they'll probably bring him for like 2 minutes, and that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But shout out him, man. But yeah, I think it's to get back to the conversation.
Former NBA champ Tyson Chandler. Get it right.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You're right. Former NBA champion. That's my favorite thing is how there's certain dudes who just have rings but you don't think about it. Like former NBA champion Nick Young, I think is. Dude,
I want you to know, like people like Tyson Chandler was like a really good defensive player that year. He's actually an all-star and it has like and he was 3-time all defensive and.
No, I love Tyson Chandler. I'm just joking.
Tyson Chandler was like a cool dude. And was drafted out of high school. One of the last guys to get drafted out of high school.
Which makes him even cooler.
He got drafted the same year we were born, by the way, if that makes you feel
That's
like.
insane.
Yeah, Tyson Chandler is now 37 years of age and got drafted the same year we were born.
That's insane. And he's going for a 20th year, I saw.
Yep.
Like next year.
2 decades.
Yeah. Joining Vince is one of the few players to do 20 years.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but you got anything else before we bounce out of here?
Oh, man, that was all the awards? Oh,
well, hold on. I think I'm missing one. Oh, Sixth Man.
Sixth Man of the Year. Who could this
I was forgetting Sixth Man. My bad, y'all.
Oh, man. Is Lou Will going to do it again?
Dude, I think he might, actually.
Lou Will or Montrezl Harrell? Because those guys have been like the sixth man for that team.
It blows my mind that they have two dudes who could potentially win Sixth Man.
Or do you think like Danny Green comes out? Or have they been putting Danny Green in the starting lineup?
I think they've been putting him in the starting lineup.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think across all teams. The Bucks got off the bench.
To my knowledge, I believe Montrezl Harrell and Lou are both the two that are leading it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Which is insane.
I feel like those be the guys. Again, they're the ones doing it. I'm trying to think who'd be the sixth man for other teams. But yeah, I mean that sounds about right. I mean, like when it comes to six man, those are the two guys I always think about, especially because they were in contention for it last year.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see who, like, because they have 3 people that go up for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see who it's going to be. I think Dennis Schroeder is a really good shot, though.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Schroeder and maybe D Rose.
Oh my God.
Hey, I'm not saying he'll win. I'm just saying in contention.
You're right though. You're actually not thinking about it. You're right. D Rose could be in contention for sixth man of the year. I didn't even think about that. Now you're right.
I'm not talking off pure voting. Like, I think he could probably sneak in there as the third person because it's going to be Harrell and Lou Will, and then probably Schroeder. It has to be. Actually, thinking about it, it has to be Dennis Schroeder, dude. Dennis Schroeder is playing like he's played ridiculous all year. He's putting up 19 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, and 4 assists a game.
Okay. But like I said, I'm sure Lou Will be in that conversation again.
Which is, yeah.
No surprise.
For the record, D Rose putting up 18 points, 2.4 rebounds a game, and 5.6 assists.
Just, as of last year, Lou Will winning it, he is now tied with Jamal Crawford for the most sixth mans of the year.
That's insane. I think he passes Jay Crossover.
You think he'll do it this year?
I think he's going to do it, man. I think, I wonder, though, if voter fatigue's a real thing. Like, if they'll just give it to Montrezl Harrell just because they're tired of giving it to Lou Will. You know what I mean?
I mean, hey, man, you give it to who deserves it, so...
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. But if they gave it to who deserved it, LeBron would have multiple MVPs. Like, way more. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
Sure.
Yeah, but Lou Will, though, he's had a great year too, so it's tough. I think the final 3 is probably gonna end up being like Harrell, Lou Will, and probably Schroeder, and I'm assuming that Lou Will's gonna get it.
Unless they meme and just stick D Rose in there.
God, I hope so. Dude, actually, there was another one that I missed 2 awards. My bad, guys. Most improved player.
Ooh, most improved player.
Because I have no idea who this one.
Dude, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My boy Kelly Oubre came back this year looking better. Not even about to lie.
That's actually fair enough.
Let me look through most improved player. I'm trying to think.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic.
He's good. Maybe, but it's not like they had bad years, but they have gotten better. No, you're right. Those are good picks. I'm gonna go to West. Where's Jazz? I mean, I feel like Don's kind of in the same place. No, you're right. Those are good options too.
I was thinking shit. I think you can argue. I think it's tough though because Luka was really good last year.
Yeah.
But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went from averaging 10 points. Like he was a guy with good potential to putting up almost 20 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, 3 assists. I think I hate to keep on bringing up Thunder players. I'm not even trying to be a homer in this. I just think there's a reasonable chance. I think Trae Young has a chance.
That's another one. That's another really good one right there. You're right.
And then maybe Luka, but it's tough to say with Luka because everybody knew he was really, really good. And then he just started winning more games. I wonder if that's part of it.
No, definitely. You're right.
Like, if I were to guess, it's probably going to be in the top 3.
And then the other award, he said there was 2 more.
No, that's what I was talking about. Those are the 2 that I missed. We missed 6-man and then most improved.
Most improved player of the year. Yeah,
I would not be surprised to see Kelly Oubre sneak his way in there, though.
Yeah, I feel like Kelly's improved. Like, and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dude, Kelly Oubre improved from last year. At least I feel like he did. And I mean, granted, a lot of players in the NBA every year are getting better and better and better. And I mean, sure, we'll probably look at it in a year and be like, oh, how do we forget about that guy? He had a monstrous year, whatever.
How did we forget about Lonzo Ball, the greatest passer in the league?
Lonzo's improved. I don't know if it's been that much, but I don't know if I don't know if it's enough to make him most improved player of the year.
I know. I'm just memeing. Hi, Brian.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I think we laid out some pretty decent options. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, we probably missed someone. I'm sure it's some young guy, because, we forget. Yeah, because Levert, I think, wasn't it Levert who won it last year? I could be wrong.
Pascal.
With Pascal, yeah. See, that was a guy who had a big jump. So, I don't know.
His jump was huge.
His jump was huge. We'll see. But he did have that slow build up to it. It was coming. We talked about it. We knew that.
We did. So, personally, I think it's probably going to end up being either Luka or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Or Trae Young.
Potentially Trae as well.
Potentially Trae as well. I think Trae's actually like a legitimately good pick now thinking about it. I'm high on Trae now that you said that. So, yeah.
But the thing about Trae was also, though, that he was really, really good before the year ended last year, which is what makes it
true. That's another too. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
That's the problem with Luka and Trae. Because it's like there's levels to this. Because they jumped from star to superstar over the year. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander jumped from young dude who didn't play that much to 20-point scorer a game, leading the Thunder to the playoffs. So it's like there's levels to it.
We'll have to see, though.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want before we want to bounce out of here?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening, as always. Courtside Soundoff on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find us. Anywhere you can find podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us. So I completely messed that up. It's been a rough day. Anyways, Courtside Sound 1 on Twitter, Courtside Soundoff on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the whole thing. I really don't use Instagram or Facebook, but if you guys want to follow us there anyways, you can appreciate it. At Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at AngelTega_01. Thank you guys for listening. As always, peace and butt grease. Mouse click.